An enhanced risk for thunderstorms now posted for parts of Wisconsin on Wednesday. Hey, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Wachs. Let's get into a deep dive here, show you what's going on. Now, this was updated this afternoon by the Storm Prediction Center, and it shows a band of level 3 or enhanced risk for severe weather on Wednesday. This is primarily for northern and central Wisconsin, not including southeastern Wisconsin. So that's point number one. Point number two, look at the sharp drop off where into Milwaukee you go into that marginal or level 1 risk. So there is a band there of enhanced risk from Minnesota through Wisconsin and into parts of Michigan. This does not include, however, southeastern Wisconsin. But let's do a deep dive on this because pretty interesting weather here. First of all, as we kind of compare some different computer models, we look at Colorado State, and that is showing a little bit of a tornado probability farther north. This is actually for all today's risk. Let me switch over to Wednesday's risk here, and we'll go over to the day 2 area, and you'll see that the tornado risk has moved a little bit more to the south. That's the one on the left. That's the hail risk there in the middle, and then the wind risk there on the right, which is the greatest. So that just kind of gives you an idea of tomorrow and sort of what some of these models are indicating. What I really like is this NATOcast product, and this is AI, but it's really shown promise here, and that is showing a sizable tornado risk up to our northwest. This is the wind risk in the middle. Again, that's the greatest. And then the hail threat, still a decent size there as well. So what does all of this mean, and what does this mean for us in southeastern Wisconsin? So let's take a closer look at some of our high resolution computer model data here, and I'll center this up for you. And this has just come in this afternoon, so let's take a look at it. Now, I'm going to start you out tonight where we are dry. However, could see some thunderstorms up to our northwest later on tonight. Now, as we go into Wednesday, look at all the storms firing off to our west, similar to what we had this morning. Now, this model showing severe thunderstorms up to our northwest. This is for 7 a.m. on Wednesday. Then we go throughout the morning, might just get clipped by a thunderstorm or two, but most of this goes up to Green Bay. And this is what happened on Tuesday morning. So a very similar type of a weather pattern here. Now we go throughout the day on Wednesday. We're dry and warm in southeastern Wisconsin, but watch off to the west here. Wednesday evening, you really see severe storms firing. I'm not convinced on the time frame that this model is showing because we have this ridge of high pressure in place. I'm not convinced that it's nailing the timing down, but look at these nasty storms rolling through Minnesota and into Wisconsin. This would be late on Wednesday night. I think it could be earlier than that, but again, note how it stays off to our north. So I agree with the forecast overall. Let me show you, this is a forecast model sounding, and we often talk about these where this is for the Milwaukee area. For Wednesday, if you were to get into a hot air balloon and go up, the winds are actually decent now. The wind shear is actually decent out of this. So if we were to get a thunderstorm, it would certainly be strong in this environment because the atmospheric energy is through the roof. Look at the cape there at the bottom left, over 5,000. I mean, that's crazy high. That's crazy high energy. However, if you look right here real close, do you see where my cursor is? So if you go, this is temperature as you go up. So as you go up, it gets cooler, right? But then all of a sudden at about 5,000 feet, it gets a little bit warmer, just right in this area here. That's called a cap in the atmosphere. And that is standard and typical when we're talking about big ridges of high pressure and the heat dome, if you will. So it's almost too hot to storm. And what I mean by that is imagine a boiling pot of water on the stove. You get the steam rising, right? But if you put a lid on that, it stops the steam from rising. That's what that cap does at 5,000 feet in the atmosphere. Interesting, right? So that's largely going to keep us dry. However, If we see those storms develop off to the west, they could potentially sneak into our area at times. So, this is why the forecast confidence for us in southeastern Wisconsin is pretty low at any given time for a thunderstorm. But we really need to watch, 10, 12 hours out because that will give us better ideas. But right now, as it pertains to this enhanced risk, yes, wind, maybe even tornadoes up to our north across central and northeastern Wisconsin potentially. This is on Wednesday and potentially, Wednesday morning and then again on Wednesday night. For us, I think we're okay at this point, but we're really watching every time frame because things can change. To the heat, real quick, the extreme heat warning runs until at least 7 p.m. on Wednesday. But big news, well, it's going to be hot through the end of the week, and again, we could have some thunderstorms here and there. The heat breaks on Saturday on the 4th of July with the wind off the lake, upper 70s in Milwaukee, low 80s inland. So there is an end in sight to this heat, and it comes in on Saturday. So stay safe with all this heat and humidity. And again, there is an end in sight. Have a great night.